the linear model versus the circular. You have multiple groups of students in your room. You have tiers of students. So you have your standard group or your proficient group, you have your exemplary group, and then you have your progressing group. If you can do the work, you're with the main group. If you can fly through the work and it's at a high level, of course, you're the exemplary group. Maybe we give you something a little more challenging. And then for my group that's struggling, we're going to kind of, adjust the expectations. You're basically going to give you easier things or more basic things because there's some skills missing. This is a standard way of looking at how you shape your instruction and your strategies for a classroom. So for your low performing students, you want to use different strategies for them. And for your main group of students, okay, you have some strategies that you're going to use for them. And then for your exemplary students, you may have some higher order strategies. You may have them helping the other students, so on and so forth, or doing a more advanced project, right? But what happens is that the advanced group gets to do more of the engaging projects, more of the fun hands-on activities because they do all their work. They understand. We trust them. As an alternative education teacher, what you're going to find is that you have a wide range of abilities, a wide range of capacities, academically and emotionally. And these things are going to have a direct impact on how successful your class is going to be as a whole and your performance as a teacher. I started to approach things with this circular model in mind. And so basically what that says is that, all right, you take this linear model that you had and then you loop it together. So I had to ask myself one of two questions. Am I going to move towards the remedial, rote, knowledge and skill-based type of classroom? Or am I going to move towards more of a critical thinking, project-based, problem-based classroom? So there's risks in both. Now with the first one, what do you risk? You risk stagnating the students who have a high level of understanding. And what's going to happen there is that they become bored with the class. They don't want to do it. They're insulted by the level of the work. And a lot of times, even the students that can't do the work are insulted by the level of work. So now option number two would be to give them something more challenging to make them think. So I decided to do what's best for the students. The way the world is going more towards the critical thinkers. We don't need people that have knowledge and skills because we have computers. Computers can be trained to do a lot of things, pretty much almost anything. And forget having to memorize anything. I remember the days that if you just memorized all the answers, you were considered smart. You had a great memory because that was of value. See, we need more critical thinkers in the future. So I said, if I'm going to prepare them for the future, we have to start doing things a little bit differently. I wanted to see what the effects would be on my classes if we just did project-based learning, the things that are kind of relegated for your best and your brightest students. And what was the outcome? Success. It had a different effect on either group, but towards the same goal. So now for my bright students, they were really excited and you needed them. They were like the glue. They were excited to be doing something new and different in the class. For my lower performance students, they were excited to be doing something new because regardless of how well you did building your skills before you came to my class, the last thing you want to do is work on it again. It makes you feel like you're not moving forward. And so we want students to move forward, but we want them to take along with them all of the skills that they've been building up until this point. How does this work? Well, you tell the students, this is where we're going with this project. And they're all excited to go. And so you say, okay, we're going to need this, we're going to need that, we're going to need that. And then they run into a roadblock. Now, what's more motivating that you're trying to get to a goal that you're excited about, and then the roadblock is in the way? You're going to do everything in your power to get through that roadblock. Your brain is going to pull on all of its assets, all of its resources in order to meet the challenge. So we have to get out of the thinking that first students need to build all the skills first so that they can go meet the challenges. Now, if they do that, that's great. But half the time it doesn't work that way. They need to know why. Why do I need to know this? For example, if you try to teach students scaling in geometry, they're not interested. Other students are going to think, wow, this is easy, this is stupid. Another set of students is going to say, wow, this is difficult, this is stupid. Now, what if we were to present this another way? Let's say you tell the class that you're not going to do math for the day, that instead you're going to go out into the hallway and paint a mural instead. Now, the key to pulling off a mural is that the math that's involved to make it accurate is directly related to that same scaling concept. So the students, they have to find a wall to get the dimensions of the wall. Now they have to translate those dimensions, scale them down to determine what kind of grid. So now they're using factoring in order to get, an even amount of squares, boxes, so on and so forth, in order to create a grid that translates accurately onto the wall. And so through doing this process, the students have a real live example of how scaling works, or building any kind of model. So they create a blueprint of something and then have these students scale it up or scale something down. They look at a building, or they take a structure from around school and they create a small scale model to it. So now we have something that's way more challenging, way more engaging, and it creates this sense of urgency that I have to learn these concepts now. So is this method foolproof? Not by any means, but it is very effective. And so once I started thinking about raising the bar for my students and changing the expectations, the classes started to become way more powerful. I started to see the intelligence in students that sometimes don't have the opportunity to demonstrate it. And that's because there's a very rigid, antiquated model of how you deal with students' academic levels and the type of content that you present to them. One of the biggest buzzwords when it comes to education is 21st century learners. We're trying to develop 21st century learners. We want students ready for the 21st century and beyond. But in order to do that, we have to become 21st century teachers. We have to start thinking, what does the future look like for me, for my students, for the world?